The Fed sees inflation staying too high. But underneath the official numbers, AI may already be pushing one of the biggest sources of inflation in the opposite direction: labor. Companies don't even need to fire millions of workers. They just need to stop hiring people they would have hired. That's the part the Fed may not fully see until it's too late. And we've seen a version of this problem before. During the 1990s technology boom, Alan Greenspan warned that official inflation could be overstated because statistics struggle to capture rapid improvements in technology. At one point, he estimated that CPI could be overstating inflation by roughly 0.5 percentage point to 1.5 percentage points. AI could make that measurement challenge much bigger. Because this time, it's not just computers getting better. AI is absorbing millions of hours of white-collar work across the services economy, and that creates a strange contradiction. AI is inflationary to build, but it could be disinflationary to use. Think of this in 3 phases. Phase 1 is already happening. The AI build-out is creating enormous demand for physical resources. Data centers need electricity, chips, memory, transformers, cooling systems, land, construction, and enormous amounts of capital. That demand pushes against resources that cannot expand overnight. Bloomberg Economics alternative price data has already detected sharp price increases in hard drives, SD cards, and memory modules as the AI build-out accelerates. This is the inflationary side of AI, and it's incredibly easy to see. Power prices rise, hardware prices rise, construction costs rise, and land values around data center hubs rise. Billions of dollars pour into physical infrastructure. But then comes phase 2. Companies stop merely building AI and start actually using it, and the economics begin to reverse. A programmer produces more software without working more hours, while an analyst processes vastly more information. A customer service team handles more customers without expanding at the same rate. A company that expected to hire 100 additional workers discovers it only needs 60. Nobody gets fired. There is no dramatic layoff announcement. But 40 jobs simply never appear. That may be one of the most important economic consequences of AI. The first major labor shock may not be mass unemployment. It may be missing jobs. Multiply that across thousands of companies. Hiring slows before employment collapses. Workers lose bargaining power before unemployment surges. Wage growth cools before the traditional recession indicators flash red. And if companies can produce more without increasing labor costs at the same pace, pressure on service inflation begins to weaken. That's the disinflationary side of AI. And unlike a rising electricity bill, it is much harder to see in real time. That brings us to phase 3, the collision. On one side is the physical economy. Electricity, chips, copper, transformers, land, and construction are all facing enormous new demand from the AI boom. On the other side is the digital economy. Software, research, analysis, customer service, and administrative work could all become dramatically more productive. Millions of hours of labor could suddenly produce much more economic output. One side pushes costs higher, the other pushes the cost of producing services lower. And the Federal Reserve has to figure out which force will dominate. That is where the policy risk begins. Imagine an AI service costs the same next year as it does today. Officially, the price hasn't fallen. But the technology can perform twice as much useful work. The sticker price says zero inflation, while the economic value of each dollar has changed dramatically. Economists already adjust inflation data for changes in quality. But AI is evolving at a speed that makes those improvements unusually difficult to capture quickly and completely. And the problem becomes even larger when AI changes labor demand. There is no CPI category called worker we decided not to hire. There is no monthly inflation release measuring millions of hours of work that companies suddenly no longer need. Those changes eventually appear elsewhere. Productivity, unit labor costs, hiring, wages, corporate margins, and economic growth begin to move. But by the time those signals become obvious, the underlying shift may already be well underway. That matters because the Fed makes decisions using the economy it can measure. And we've already seen what happens when that picture arrives late. Recent payroll revisions dramatically changed our understanding of how strong or weak the labor market actually was. The lesson isn't that government statistics are useless. The lesson is that the economy can turn before the initial numbers fully reveal it. Now add AI. Companies can change hiring plans almost instantly. Prices increasingly move online. Private companies see transactions in real time. Corporate executives can describe productivity changes months before they become obvious in national statistics. This is why Wall Street is increasingly looking beyond traditional government releases. Online prices, private payrolls, credit card transactions, corporate earnings calls, and real-time business activity are becoming increasingly valuable. Bloomberg Economics, for example, is using AI to analyze thousands of corporate earnings calls for signals about hiring, pricing, investment, and consumer demand. Instead of waiting for one monthly number, economists can increasingly watch parts of the economy changing almost in real time, which creates one of the strangest twists in this entire story. AI may be making parts of the economy harder to measure, and AI may also become one of the most important tools for measuring them. Markets won't wait for official statistics to catch every turning point. If private data begins showing weaker hiring, softer wages, and stronger productivity before government releases confirm it, investors will move first. Bond yields, stocks, and rate expectations will move with them, and eventually the Fed may have to move too. But there is another side to this risk. Suppose policymakers become convinced that AI will deliver a huge productivity boom. They see weaker hiring and assume disinflation is coming, so they cut rates. But the productivity gains take longer than expected. Meanwhile, electricity, infrastructure, commodities, and construction remain expensive. Then the Fed has made the opposite mistake. It eased because of disinflation that hadn't actually arrived yet. That is why this isn't simply a story about AI lowering inflation. It is a story about timing. Phase 1. Building. AI creates inflation. Phase 2. Using AI creates productivity. Phase 3. Those two forces collide, and the Fed has to decide which one represents the future. For investors, watch productivity and unit labor costs. For workers, watch hiring more closely than layoffs. For businesses, watch whether enormous AI spending actually translates into higher output. And for policymakers, watch the growing gap between traditional economic statistics and what companies are reporting in real time. Because the biggest labor market consequence of AI may not arrive when a machine takes someone's existing job. It may arrive when millions of jobs that would normally have been created simply aren't needed. If that happens while productivity keeps rising, the inflation picture could change remarkably quickly. The first phase of the AI boom was about spending enormous amounts of money to build the infrastructure. The next phase will tell us whether that infrastructure allows America to produce dramatically more without adding workers at the same rate. If it does, AI won't just change technology. It could change inflation, the labor market, and when the Federal Reserve decides interest rates are too high. If you want to understand the forces moving markets before they become obvious in the headline numbers, subscribe to Global Notes by JP. We focus on the hidden macro shifts behind inflation, interest rates, global capital, and the decisions that ultimately affect your money. And if you think AI will ultimately create more inflation or destroy it, tell me in the comments. Because the next major shift in inflation may already be happening. The hardest part may be seeing it before the official numbers do. And by the time everyone sees it, markets may have already moved.